In 1969, Norway drilled the seabed to find a source of oil, and for the first time, the country succeeded in getting a source of it. That discovery led the country ambitious to become the world's largest oil-producing country. Norway's government kept drilling for more rigs every time a rig had run out of juice. The drilling continued for over 50 years. This woman's name is Sofia. She was a technician at a Norwegian marine robot manufacturing company. That morning, Sofia was having breakfast at her boyfriend's house named Stian. He is a widower with a son who worked for an oil refinery company. That day at work, Sofia and her co-worker named Arthur tested the new robot made by them. After work, Sofia invited Arthur to have a party at Stian's house. When they arrived, some other guests had come to the party as well, one of whom was a friend and co-worker of Stian named Ronnie. The next day at work, Sofia got a call from his boss. His boss told her that there was a rig that suddenly collapsed to the seabed. He asked Sofia to immediately check the collapsed oil rig using her new robot. Sofia and Arthur then rushed to the rig, but before boarding a helicopter, the field manager named William told Sofia to sign a letter stating that they wouldn't leak anything about the rig or the company's secrets to any party. Arriving at the location after everything was ready, Sofia immediately operated her robot. On the other hand, William and his team also monitored from the head office. In the wreckage, they saw the corpse of a worker. Although sad, Sofia continued to operate the robot around until finally she managed to find a surviving worker, but when they were about to evacuate him, a gas leak suddenly happened in the wreckage and blew the whole structure. As a result of the incident, 8 officers died and other officers were slightly injured, including Sofia. That afternoon, Stian came to pick Sofia up at the hospital. Because she was still in shock, Sofia asked permission to stay at Stian's home for a while until she was in better condition. That night, William and his team saw the simulation of the collapsing rig that day. According to the calculation, the oil rig collapsed in just under 3 minutes. Hearing the calculation just now, everyone was flabbergasted. Such a strong and sturdy structure could collapse in just a matter of minutes. On the other hand, when Arthur saw the video footage of the robot, he was surprised to find that there was a very large crack on the seabed. The next day at the office, when Arthur showed the video to Sofia, she was shocked. She then copied the video to the hard disk and then invited Arthur to go meet William. Sofia told Arthur to wait in the car while she was going to meet William alone. When she met William, she showed him the video and said that the big crack couldn't be just because of a gas leak. There must be something much bigger that caused such a massive opening. Regardless of Sofia's words, William immediately took the hard drive and asked Sofia not to tell anyone or she would be prosecuted accordingly letter of the agreement she signed the day before. After Sofia left, William held a meeting with the investors and state officials. While showing the video, William explained that the big crack in the seabed was probably the result of an avalanche, not just an ordinary avalanche, but the biggest avalanche in history. And if it is not treated immediately, it could be catastrophic to the environment. Hearing William's explanation, a state official asked the cause of the avalanche because for over 50 years, everything was fine. William's assistant answered that for the past 50 years, they had been continuously drilling the seabed and destroying nature. So maybe nature was taking its turn to punish them. All they could do was close all oil drills before further avalanches occurred. After the meeting, one of the officials asked William what would happen if all their oil rigs collapsed. William explained that if that happened, then oil would continue to gush out and would contaminate all the oceans all over the planet. The man was silent, and because there was no other choice. The next morning, the government assigned a SAR team to evacuate the workers who were still in the rigs and close all the oil rigs before the aftershocks actually occurred. On the other hand, when Stian's friend, Ronnie, was evacuating the workers at the oil rig, he got a call from the head office. The head office informed him that the system at his current location suddenly went down, so he had to stop the oil drill manually. Knowing Ronnie was busy, Stian took the initiative to voluntarily stop it alone. The malfunctioning system led to a catastrophe as the seabed under the oil rig cracked and blew up the drill from the bottom and collapsing the whole structure with Stian still inside. At the house, Sofia tried to contact her boyfriend repeatedly, but there was no answer, and because she was worried, Sofia and Stian's son went to William's office. There, a staff member named Barrett informed them that a new crack had formed and destroyed 30 oil drills, including the drill at Stian's location. Hearing that, Sofia was shocked. She then begged William to immediately send an evacuation team to save Stian, but William refused and instead kicked her out of the room. Sofia could only sit hopelessly next to Stian's son. When she started to calm down, she remembered that every room in the oil rigs must have a CCTV. She then asked Barrett to show the CCTV at Stian's location. When she saw the CCTV footage, Sofia cried hysterically. Amid grief, one of the staff there said that there was a damaged pipeline as if it had been forcefully broken into, and maybe Stian was the one that broke into the pipe. He might have survived the explosion. Knowing she still had hope, Sofia immediately contacted Arthur and asked for help to bring the robot right away. When Arthur arrived, and after hearing Sofia's story as her friend, he decided to help to save Stian. Arriving at the oil rig, Sofia and Arthur rushed to prepare their robot. After the robot entered the water, they both started looking for Stian's whereabouts using a thermal detection camera. In the middle of the search, Sofia saw that there was a thermal detected the size of a human body in one of the pipes. Because she was sure it was Stian, they immediately went to check the pipe. On the other side, when Ronnie returned to the office, Barrett told him that Sofia had just gone to the oil rig to look for Stian. Hearing Barrett's story, Ronnie felt guilty for leaving his best friend. Ronnie hugged Stian's son while continuing to apologize. Meanwhile, in the meeting room, the staff was seen explaining to investors and state officials that as a result of the subsequent avalanche earlier, the oil leak had now polluted the vast ocean the size of 100 kilometers square, and if left unsolved, then within 24 hours, the whole Norway coast would be polluted. Unfortunately, it will take decades to centuries to fix the pollution. William then explained that to stop the pollution to spread any further, the only way to solve the problem was to burn the leaked oil. Even though the explosion and smoke could damage the sea, it would be considerably better than having the whole coast polluted. State officials then discussed this decision with the government, and after calling and considering everything, the government decided to allow William to burn the leaked oil using military planes. On the other hand, Sofia and Arthur were still trying to find Stian's whereabouts. After checking the pipes one by one, they finally found him. But when they wanted to help him, the pipe they were in suddenly shifted a bit. Luckily, they still had time to save him and left safely. At the office, Barrett told Ronnie that William had planned to burn the leaked oil in the sea. Hearing that, Ronnie hurriedly went to the meeting room to stop William, but right when Ronnie arrived, before he could even speak a thing, military planes were seen having launched their missiles. Meanwhile, at the oil rig, Sofia, Arthur, and Stian, who saw the explosion, immediately contacted William. On the phone, Stian asked William to send an evacuation team immediately, but because the fire spread too fast, the evacuation team would be unable to get there on time, and with great grief, William said that the three of them already had no hope of surviving the incident. Hearing William's words, Stian was really disappointed. In the middle of panic, Sofia suddenly remembered that earlier she had seen a fireproof evacuation submarine on the rig, but because the submarine had to be filled with water before it could be used, the three of them split up looking for hoses. After everything was ready and when Sofia pulled a lever to lower the submarine, unfortunately, the lever didn't work. When checked, it turned out that Arthur had forgotten to pull the lever outside. Stian said that because they had pulled the lever inside the submarine, the chain that held the submarine from inside was released. And if Arthur decided to go out and pull the lever outside, the moment the lever was pulled, the submarine would immediately plunge into the water and left him behind. Arthur will no longer be able to get inside. Hearing the explanation, because he didn't have much time, Arthur decided to sacrifice himself. Stian tried to stop Arthur, but he was too late. The submarine plunged into the water and the impact sent him flying and hit him in the head, leaving him unconscious. Inside the submarine, Sofia tried to wake Stian up, who has fainted. Only he knew how to operate his submarine. If the submarine's machine is not activated immediately, they both would drown. When the water started leaking into the cabin, Sofia panicked and tried various ways to turn on the machine herself, but unfortunately, her efforts were in vain. At that moment, Sofia had given up. Luckily, soon after, Stian woke up. He then directed Sofia on how to turn on the machine. After the machine was turned on, slowly the ship began to rise to the sea level. The next morning at the office, Ronnie approached Stian's son, who was fast asleep. Seeing the innocent face of the little boy, he couldn't bear to tell Stian's death. Amid the dilemma, Ronnie's cell phone rang. When he picked it up, he was surprised that Stian had survived. Ronnie happily said that he would immediately send an evacuation team. He then gave his cell phone to Stian's son. On the phone, when Stian heard his son's voice, his heart was so relieved.